So for this type of problem, you've got a pretty good bit of stuff over here. And if we think about order of operations, it's the rule set that follows us through math forever. So we've got to deal with that. The order of operations tells us to do parentheses first. Well, this problem has parentheses in it. We're drawn to this area to work out first. And that's distributive property. What operation does distributive property do? What does the -6 do to everything on the inside? Multiplies, yeah, times. Okay, so when you distribute, you're distributing the number that's in front and its sign to everything on the inside of the parentheses. So it's -6 times -3 R, which would be +18 R. And then we're saying -6 times the -5. -6 times -5 is +30. Once you've done that, the parentheses are gone now, so you don't have those to deal with anymore. And then we work this like a multi-step equation. We're going to look for like terms on the side that's got a lot of stuff on it. So looking over here, what like terms would we have with that side? The 30 and the -4. So what is +30 minus 4? 26, +26. All right, so we've simplified it a little bit. What needs to move next? Look at this side. It's got two things on it. Which one of these two things is like 170? The 26 is a plain number, so that's what needs to move. So we're going to subtract 26 because they're adding it. The inverse operation there. There's 18R. And then 170 minus 26. 144. And what's the last step solving that equation? Divide by the 18. How many times is 144 divisible by 18? 8. 8 times. We found our answer there. Okay, so that's the name of the game today. That's what you're going to be doing. Do that distributive property and simplify and then get the variable by itself. That's what we're going to be doing throughout the lesson today. Need a calculator? Get one. Let's try this one. We got 8 plus 3, parentheses, 5n plus 3, close the parentheses, equals -103. This one's kind of in a different order as far as the pieces go. But again, you're going to follow order of operations before you do anything else. So if we're following order of operations, parentheses comes first. So we're drawn to this area here. What gets distributed to those parentheses? What kind of 3? Positive 3, because it's plus 3. So we're going to distribute +3 to both the 5n and this plus 3. Okay. So the 8 is still there. What's 3 times 5? +3 times +5 is +15n. So it's plus 15n. +3 times +3. So plus 9, yeah, +9. All right. The next thing is to simplify. So we look at the side that's got so much stuff on it and say, are there any like terms? 9 and the 8. They're on the same side, so we're just going to add those together. This is something I saw from the quiz last week, where some of us were trying to do the opposite here. Well, if they're on the same side, you don't change them. You just go 8 plus 9 is 17. So we have 17 plus 15n If you wrote 15n plus 17, that's the same. That's perfectly legal. You can do that. That's not wrong at all. So we should put the like terms together. Which one of those should move, the 17 or the 15n? 17. Because it's like the negative 103. It's a regular number, so we're going to move it. We're going to move it. Subtract it because it's positive. There's 15n. Negative 103 minus 17. Negative 120. They're both negative. Just add them up. Keep it negative. Last step. Divide. By what? 15. There's n by itself. How many times does 15 go into negative 120? So the final answer will be negative 8. Yeah, good job. Negative 8. Okay. Not too bad. Not too bad. Let's see those. Let's do example C. Negative 8, parentheses, 7v plus 2, close the parentheses, equals negative 128. A little shorter problem. What do we do first? Good. That'll work. What's that going to give us? Minus 16. Good job. All right. What would we do next? All right, so we got two things over here and one over here. So that means this side's got too much stuff. We'll have to add the 16 over to get it with the 128. Negative 56v equals something. Negative 128 and positive 16. Subtract them, keep the sign of the bigger one. Negative 112. Last step for this one. Divide by the negative 56. Be careful, don't drop that negative sign off that 56 as you're going down. I saw that some on the quiz too, that it's a small thing, but it's very important when you come to the end because negative 112 divided by negative 56 gives us what? Times with 112 divisible by 56. 2 times. It's a positive 2 because negative divided by negative is a positive. Be careful of your sign. Let's try this one. Get one that's got variables on both sides. So far, we only had variables on one side. This time, we got it on both sides. Again, where do we go first for this problem? Parentheses. So what's getting distributed for this problem? The negative 7. So we're distributing negative 7 to the 6 and the 8. The negative 3 is still there. Nothing's changing with it. It's just going to copy it down. So what's negative 7 times 6m? Positive or negative 42? Negative 42m. So it'll be a minus 42m. And then -7 times +8. Try again. -56. Gotta learn the multiplication tables, folks. Okay. Now, what's the next thing we want to do here? No, take them off. All right. What's the next thing we need to do? Okay, so when I put those together, do I change the sign of either one of them?
No.
Why not? Yeah, they're on the same side, so you keep them the same. So -3 and a -56 together is going to be -59. So we got -42m minus 59. Okay. So that's just combining the like terms on the left-hand side. Now we get a choice. It doesn't matter which one you move next. Okay, so if we add 21, that's not a bad move. I like it. If I add 21 over here, it's going to add to 42 or 59? To the 59. So I'm adding 21. That's not the only way to work this problem, but it works. We're going to do that. So that'll leave us -4m over there. What's on the left-hand side now? -42m minus 38. Now, because we moved the 21, what do I have to move next? Yeah, this side has two things, that side has one thing, so I move the part that matches that, so the m's. So I have to move the 42 by doing what? Plus 42m to both sides. All right, so there's -38. It had a minus sign in front of it, so we treated it as -38. What's 42 minus 4? 38m. Last step. By 38 on both sides. It's always by that number that's in front of the variable. It's -1. Guys, do y'all see all this work here and how that's written? That's what I'm expecting out of you guys. Okay? Not some of the stuff that I'm seeing on quizzes where it's random numbers written down with no operation there. Notice every time I'm adding something, I'm putting a plus sign in front of it. When I'm dividing, I'm putting this line under it, doing it there. A lot of some of you are doing it right. You're just not telling me what you're doing. You're just writing a 42m here and not telling me you're adding it to both sides. Or you might be writing a 21 there, not telling me you're adding it to both sides. So that's, as these problems get further, longer, these are definitely a lot longer than what we started with. It's easier to find where you're making mistakes if I see the operation you're doing, and that's one of the reasons that I want you to write that down. The other reason is so that you know what you're doing. Okay? Because if you don't know, how am I supposed to know? If you're not writing it down, I definitely can't know. All right? Let's try another. -32 plus 8n equals -3 parentheses 4n minus 6, close the parentheses, minus 5n. All right. Again, order of operations still rules roost. Tells us what to do first. What do we do first? Those parentheses. Do what? All right, that -3 is in front, distributes to both of those things on the inside. Does it distribute to the -5n on the end? No. So that's going to give us -12 plus 18, then -5n. The other side I hadn't done anything to yet, so I'm just going to copy it down. So this is distributing -3 to 4n, -12n, -3 times -6, turns to +18, then the 5n, just bringing it down. What's the next thing we want to do? Okay, so they're on the same side, so I'm going to have -12 and a -5n together would be -17n. So I've got -17n plus 18. So I got a -32 plus 80n equals -17n plus 18. You could. You could do that as well. What's another option? I like the plus 32 option. That's the one I'm going to do. Plus 32. Because the reason I'm going to do that is because now I'm adding 18 and 32. Isn't that more normal math? Positive 18, positive 32 added together. It's a little easier than negative negatives. And, you know, you don't have to deal with the sign as much. So that's why I'm moving the 32 instead. So I got 8n equals -17n plus 50. Okay. Now, that means the next step I have to do for my problem is to do what? Plus 17n. And then I end up with some positives on the ends as well. So that's nice. Let's cancel. 8 plus 17. 25. One last step. Divide by 25. N equals 2. So 1, 2, 3, 4 steps. This problem, not too bad. All right. Any questions about those? So we're dealing with integers so far, nothing but integers in those problems. We're going to throw some fractions and decimals in there next. But doesn't change the way we do it. It just changes the numbers. That's all. That's what I want you to get out of this is we're not changing how we do things. The logic is still the same, and the process is still the same. The numbers are different. We're dealing with dollars and cents versus just plain dollars. Okay. Let's look at the first one there. 92.8 equals -4 parentheses 2a minus 7, close the parentheses, minus a. So a is our variable. 92.8 is equal to -4 parentheses 2a minus 7, close those parentheses, and then a minus a. There. Okay, so this one kind of mixes decimals and integers together. Okay, so it's kind of the bridge between the two. What do we do first? Distribute right there, -4 to 2a and -7. So that's going to be what? Plus 28 or minus 28? Plus 28 because it's positive. And then we still got the minus a that was already there. The 92.8 hadn't changed either. Then we look for what? For
Would you minus 28 from both sides?
I wouldn't do that yet. You're going to at one point, but not yet.
Put the A together with the A.
Yeah, the like terms together before you do that. So, and that's one of the things that mathematically and legally, it's okay to move the 28 first. But I think that kind of muddies the water a little bit, and that's where some of us get confused is when we start moving things before we get like terms together. And that'll help us kind of eliminate some of our problems if we do that. So we're going to put -8 and negative, what's in front of that A? -1. So -8, -1 would be -9A plus 28 equal to 92.8. Now we can move that 28 by doing what? Yeah, subtract 28 from both sides. I'm gonna line up my decimals because that's what I'm doing. It's decimals. 8 minus 0, 8. I gotta borrow 1. 4. 64.8. And then last, divide. -9. So 9 goes into 64 7 times with 1 left over. And so that'd be 7.2. Negative because it's positive 64.8 divided by -9. There's our simplified our final answer there. Process not any different. Kind of number we're dealing with, yeah, it's a decimal now. So that just means we can have decimals at the end. Okay, that's really all it means. The process is still the same. G. Try this one. 252. 4.2p plus 7 parentheses 5.4p minus 2.4. We're gonna do what first? Yeah, distribute that 7 to both of those. So that's 4.2p plus 7 times 5.4, 35 plus 2.8, 37.8. Is that right? Calculator folks, help me make that right. 7 times 2.4 would be 14 plus 2.8 would be 16.8. Is that right numbers? Whenever. Okay. Next step. That's right. Combine like terms. These two guys are like terms. Let's put them together. 4.2 plus 37.8. 42p minus 16.8. Well, that shortened up quite a bit. Good job. So that's 42p, and then this is going to be 0.8. 6 and 2 is 8. 5 is 6. All right. 268.8. Now, last step, very last one. Divide. By what? No. by the number that's in front of the variable. That's the one you want to divide by. That's another mistake that I saw not a lot of folks do, but some folks on the quiz. You'd get to this step and you'd have everything right, and then you'd divide by the wrong number, and then your answer was the wrong fraction. And you had the right idea, you just weren't working it the right way. So make sure that last step is dividing by that number that's in front of the variable. And what's 268.8 divided by 42? Say again. 6.4. Positive or negative? Good. We're taking those like terms, putting them together, that sort of thing. What are we on, H? Let's try this one. See if you can do this one on your paper. 7.2. See if you can start that one, get it going on your paper. Check with the neighbor, make sure you're on the right track, or at least in the correct train. I'm just putting the first step up here. What you should be coming up with after the first step. Check your first step. Make sure you're getting those pieces. That helps you get there.
Yeah.
All right, what's the next step? Like terms, good job. Hayden's on it today. He's been studying all weekend. Probably took that 4-day weekend, extra math studying probably. Right. All right, so negative 7.8 and negative 39.6. Negative 47.4x plus 31.69 or 68, excuse me, equals 244.98. If you wrote 31.68 minus 47.4, that's the exact same thing. There's nothing wrong with that. I just chose to put the x part first. Doesn't matter. Y'all agree with his numbers? I was next. Good job. Subtract it over there to that 244.98. Okay, so I got the negative 47.4x equals how much? 213.3. 213. Let's fix that. And then the last step, huh? Divide. Last step's divide by that what? Yeah, there you go. Make sure it's the number that's with the variable that you're dividing by. How many times does that go? How much? Positive or negative? Should be negative. Negative 4.5. It takes a little doing. The decimals make it a little tougher because you just got to deal with, place values and things. But, it's not, the process is still the same. Let's get a decimal that's got variables on both sides. So say, let's do this, a 6 parentheses 3.3b plus 3.8 equals negative 25.52 plus 4.7b. Variables on both sides. Still doesn't change what we're trying to do. We're trying to get that variable by itself. Anytime we see parentheses, what we're going to do first? Times that. All right, so go to there. Multiply the 6 times everything in parentheses. So be 18 plus 1.8 would be 19.8b. 18 plus 4.8, 22.8. Check my numbers, make sure that's right. Yeah. Now, here's where you got choices. The George Jones song about choices. I don't know if you're George Jones is old country music guy, and the song about we've all got choices since the day we were born. And then, so we got to choose. Do we want to move B's first or regular numbers? Regular numbers is usually what I do. Okay, so we got to choose to either move the 25.52 or the 22.8. It does not matter which one you move first. Okay, I like moving that one because it's negative, and if I move it, I'm going to use what? Positive, and that goes well with my 22.8. It's positive. So if I move the 25.52 by addition, that seems to help me with signs where there's not any negative signs in the problem after I do that. The 4.7b is there. 19.8b is on the left side, and then we're adding these two together. So 2, 8 and 5 is 13, carry 1, 7, 8, and 4. 48.32. You add those together. And because I did that, what do I have to move next? The 19.8, because I need to get the B's over here with this B. There's the 48.32. And end up with a negative here. 4.7 minus 19.8. 0.1. 15.1 B. And it's negative 15.1 B. My B is looking like a 6. Let me make it less 6-like. More B-like. Okay. Last step. Divide by negative 15.1. There's B. 48.32 divided by negative 15.1. I heard 3.2 and I heard negative 3.2. Why is it negative again? Negative and a positive together when you're dividing gets you a negative result. Signs are different, so it's negative. Okay. Not bad at all. Not bad at all. All right. Let's skip on down to the fraction problems. Okay. Let's get a couple with fractions in it, and then we'll call it a day. Negative 11 over 3, parentheses, 5 over 2, x minus 5 over 3 equals 1,705 over 36. Those look like big numbers, but they're not. They're less than 4. All right. Do we have parentheses? Yes, we do. So we want to do what? Negative 11 over 3 times 5 over 2x times the 5 over 3. So when you multiply fractions, top times top, bottom times bottom. So negative 11 times 5, negative 55, 3 times 2, 6. So we end up with negative 55 over 6x. And then we have a negative 11 over 3 times a negative 5 over 3. So that's going to turn to a positive 55 over 9. The other side has not changed. Okay, so that's just after the distributive property. That's what we've got. What's the next step? Okay, so how am I going to move this? I'm going to move it by subtracting, what Jacob was telling me. And to do that subtraction, yes, I do have to have a common denominator. That's the right thing. So the math that's happening is the subtracting of 55 over 9. Okay. So that's going to leave us negative 55 over 6x. And we've got to work this out, okay? You do get the use of a calculator, so I'm not going to kill you on this, but this is how you get a common denominator. 9 goes into 36 4 times. So I'm going to multiply bottom and top by 4 to turn that into 36. And that's going to be 220 over 36. It's negative. And then that's 1705 over 36. And then I just got to subtract those. Okay, so 1705 minus 220. 1485 over 36. That will actually reduce. Okay. I know that will reduce because 1 plus 4 is 5, plus 8 is 13, plus 5 is 18. So I know that top number has the digits have a 18. So I know that it's divisible by 3 and 9. 36 I already knew was divisible by 3 and 9 because it's a small number. I knew that. So I'm going to divide by the biggest one of those, 9. So how many times will 9 go into 1485? Because I know the bottom part's 4. 165. Okay. And then I'm going to leave this one the same. Okay. Okay. All right. Last step for this problem. No. No. The only time you need the common denominator is if you're going to add or subtract. So what are we going to do here to get x by itself? Multiply by what? The reciprocal. Right. The reciprocal means do what to the fraction? Flip it over. That's what we're going to do. We're going to multiply by the reciprocal, which is 6 over 55, or negative 6 over 55. That cancels out. There's x by itself. That's what we want. And then I know 6 and 4 are both divisible by 2. And I know 55 is divisible by 5. And 165 is also divisible by 5 because it ends in a 5. So I'm going to divide them both by 5s. It'll be 3, 35. And then I just multiply across. 35 times 3 be 90 plus 15 be 105. 2 times 11 is 22. Is that right? And it's negative. Check my math here. 165 divided by 5. 33. That's not 35. That's 33. That's one I did wrong. 33 times 3 is 99 over 2. And then I know both of those are divisible by 11. So I can reduce that. It's negative. Negative 9 over 2. What the final answer is there. And again, you can use the calculator to help you with this stuff, guys. I'm not saying, you got to do all this by hand. The more you can do by hand, the better you're going to be at math. The less you rely on that calculator, the better. But I'm not saying you can't use it on especially the fraction stuff. And I hadn't taken one away from you yet. So, all right, let's do one more with fractions, and then we'll do some practice today because we're getting close to the end. So let's just do one more. I'm going to skip all the way to the last one here. Let that there. The very last one. 4/3 x plus 1 equals 41 over 27 plus 3 over 2 x. Okay. So this one kind of mixes together fractions, and it's got an integer in it because it's got a 1 there, and that's going to help us. It's got variables on both sides, so this may be like the ultimate problem for this particular day. All right. So first thing, what? What am I doing first? Yeah, distribute that stuff there. Okay, 4/3 times 4/3 be 16 over 9x. 1 times 4/3, that's an easy one. That's 4/3. Okay. Then we got to choose what to do. It doesn't matter, both of them are going to take some work.
Minus 4/3.
Okay, so if we subtract 4/3, that's going to move it over here with this 41 over 27, so that works fine. Cancels out, so there I've got 16 over 9x, and then I've got to work that out. So 4/3, to turn that into something over 27, I multiply by 9 on top and bottom, so I end up with 36 over 27. 41 minus 36 is 5. So that's 5 over 9, or I mean 5 over 27, excuse me, plus 3 over 2x. So that's just multiplying both the top and bottom by 9 to get the 27. 41 minus 36 is 5. Yep, minus 3/2. This one's a little tougher because I can't just multiply one of them by something and get a common denominator. What number do 2 and 9 both go into? Well, what's 2 times 9? 9 doesn't go into 16. 2 times 9 is 18, so right, so I could just do this. 16 times 2 is 32 over 18, and then negative 27 over 18. So that's the problem that I'm working out. What's 32 minus 27? It's 5. So I end up with 5 over 18x equals 5 over 27. What do I do to get x by itself? Times the reciprocal. Dividing by 5/18 is the same as multiplying by its reciprocal, which is 18 over 5. That works out real nice because the 5's cancel each other out. 18 divisible by 9, so is 27. So we end up with 2/3. X equals 2 divided by 3. 2/3. So we've seen integers, we've seen fractions, we've seen decimals, and all the different kinds of problems here with variables on both sides. So you got to be able to kind of work in and out of that. Your practice is on Khan Academy today. You got 2 lessons there, equations with parentheses, and then the same thing but with decimals and fractions mixed in. Okay, so it's just two things there. We'll get started on it today. We still got about 20 minutes left, so you should. Some of you will be able to complete that today. Some of you may take a little longer, but it should get us going. Okay.